Hi folks, it's Switchback. Buying a backpack is a big part of backpacking, of course. Can't really backpack without a backpack. But what is important to one person is not necessarily what's important to another. What fits best for someone may not fit best for someone else. And so we're going to go over a lot of different points today. And some of them you may not care about, and I might miss a few things that you do care about. So if that's the case, I want to hear about them down in the comments below. If you're looking for a pack for your very first trip, I strongly recommend that you borrow or rent for your first 1 or 2 trips, because you will learn so much about what you do and don't want in your gear on those first trips. Things that you cannot possibly know until you're out there in the wilderness and carrying this thing on your back. This can save you a ton of money in the long run, especially if it turns out that backpacking isn't even your thing. There are several things to consider before you even start looking at a backpack's features. Things like, are you going to be mountaineering where you have a helmet and an ice axe and crampons and things like that? Are you going to be going on winter trips? Are you going to be doing more warm weather summer trips? Are you using larger, bulkier gear? If you're doing a longer trek, how long are you going between resupplies? Are you going a week? Are you going 2 weeks? Do you tend to be a minimalist, or do you like to take all of the luxuries? This will matter if you're someone who's going to be hiking long miles in a day versus someone who's hiking 2 miles in and spending the day in camp. Where are you going to want to store your poop kit, including your used toilet paper? You're probably not going to want to store it with your other stuff. There will be other things that you want to keep accessible, like snacks, a map, compass, etc. Where are you going to store those? If you're trying to go ultralight, the fewer bells and whistles, the better, because pockets and features equal weight. You may need a larger pack if you're going to be taking kids or you're taking other people who cannot carry as much, and you need to be able to absorb some of their load. Also, if you're going to be leading a group and you need to carry extra supplies for them, or if you're going to be doing large water carries, meaning that you're going to be carrying a lot of water at any given time, because there's a lot of distance between one place and the next where you can access water. A few common mistakes. One is buying a bigger backpack, thinking that if you're going to be doing longer trips, you're going to need a huge pack for all the food and all of that. Really, the only things that change are going to be your consumables: food, water, and your fuel. Nothing else really changes. So you don't necessarily need an 80-liter pack, because you're going to be potentially doing longer trips. To that end, buying a bigger pack thinking, oh, if I use less volume, I can just cinch everything down. This is a common misnomer. Most people tend to fill all of the available space, even if it's just an overnight trip. So size constraints can really help you pare things down. Just in case thinking can get you in a lot of trouble. Choosing your pack size based on your clothing size. That is not how it works. You need to measure. In order to fit yourself into a pack, you need to measure from your C7, which is the little bony prominence here. If you put your head down like that, you'll be able to feel it. But don't measure with your head tilted forward. Measure with your head straight up. Then you're also going to put your hands on your hips. Feel the tops of your hip bones. Those are called the iliac crest. And so the line between your thumbs, when you're at your iliac crests, is where you're going to measure from your C7 to that line. However many inches that is going to determine the size of your pack. Small, medium, and large are not standardized, so look at the inches. Make sure that the shoulder straps are flush with your shoulders and that they connect with the pack about 1 to 2 inches below your shoulder. Your load lifters, which are these straps here, those should be at a 45-degree angle approximately, somewhere between 30 and 60 degrees. And your shoulder strap should attach about 1 to 2 inches below your shoulder. Consider the volume of the pack, and it's usually going to be measured in literage, not always, but almost always. And so the literage is not necessarily going to be standardized. So the shape of the pack, whether or not the pockets are included, none of that is standardized. So some companies may include the pockets in that volume and some may not. So You can't just look at a volume and say that's what's going to work for me, and that's why there's usually a range. Most people start out with about a 50 to 65 liter pack. This is a 55. I started out with this 80 liter pack. I shouldn't say started out. I came back to it with this. I had a prior version of this before that. It was a 52 liter. And I had to have everything strapped on the outside because I had so much stuff I was taking with me to begin with. So with that in mind, that 50 to 65, I would probably err on the larger side of that, especially if you're going solo and you're not going to be splitting your load. And because most of your gear when you're starting out is not going to be the super expensive, teeny tiny ultralight gear, it's going to be what you could afford at the time and take up more space. I will tell you that unless you are doing like snow expeditions or something like that, you probably don't need an 80 liter pack. But I would not recommend starting out with a 38 liter pack either. This tends to be easiest if you can get to a shop so that you can actually try things on, and even better if you can take your bigger items and actually put them into a pack and see how they fit and how much room is left for all the little things. Make sure that you're trying on those packs with weight in them, at least 15 or 20 pounds. How it fits without any weight in it means absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
But with that weight in it, put it on and wear it around the store for a good 20 minutes, less if it already sucks, of course. But if it's already bothering you in that time, it's definitely going to bother you 5 hours into hiking. You want to feel how your body feels bearing that weight, if it chafes or rubs or squeaks anywhere. It's often recommended that you get your other gear first. The other train of thought is to buy a smaller pack and buy gear that fits within that. It's really going to just depend on your budget, whether or not that's even feasible for you. And you're going to need to consider what kind of conditions you're going to be in. Learning what you like over time as you use your gear, you may find that, what you have initially isn't going to work for you in the long. If you're aiming to drop weight, start with other gear before you do your pack, because better to have a heavier pack that can support that weight as you're going down than to try to get a lighter pack that can't support the weight of your other heavier gear. I even use this on day hikes when I'm out backpacking instead of taking a day pack with me. So I've done some really light loads in here. It's very comfortable, of course, very well supported. Most of us are going to be shopping for internal frame packs. And what that means is that there is a piece of metal or even a piece of composite or plastic on the inside of this that's giving it extra support. If you're doing an internal frame pack, then you're going to want everything for the most part to fit on the inside. The more you have on the outside, the more it will throw off your balance. If you're using an external frame pack, those are designed for gear to be strapped on the outside. If you're using a frameless pack, it should all fit on the inside, and you should have a very, very, very light load if you're going that route. Note that more features are going to mean more weight and more potential fail points. So for example, all these little zippers can fail. Straps can pull out of the stitching, etc. To be fair, I've not had any of those happen, knock on wood. But that doesn't mean that they can't. It's a good idea to get familiar with the different parts of a backpack and features, and I have a whole video about that right up here that's a good idea to watch if you haven't already. With packs, the brand is not nearly as important as you might think. Of course, you're going to want something that's reputable, that has good quality zippers and good quality materials, but it's not necessarily going to be about, Osprey is better than Gregory, or Gossamer Gear is better than, Hyperlight or something like that. Like, those are all common brands. They're all great brands. They all make really good quality gear. So it's more about what's right for you and what's actually going to hold up. The random backpack that you might find on Amazon or at Walmart may not stand up to the rigors of backpacking the same way that a quality backpack will. And those may not be nearly as comfortable or adjustable so that you can sustain them for several hours, day after day. Like all backpacking gear, budget is a part of that. Weight is another consideration. Again, pockets and features are all going to add weight. Will you want pockets? The ones on your hip belt, for example, here, do they actually fit your phone in them? Mine don't really do that very well. So try your phone in these things and see where you're going to store that. These are great for snacks. I keep my ID, my car keys, that kind of thing in these when I'm actually out on the trail. So what will you want accessible? How will you be able to reach your water bottle? So for example, this one has a nice pocket right here that I can actually get a water bottle in and out of, versus this one has this nice little pocket for getting it out, but getting it back in is a pain in the butt. Unfortunately, these side pockets are too hard to get back into, even if you do a lot of yoga. Same with these ones. So unless you have a buddy with you that can help you get your water each and every time and put it back, then you're going to want to think about that. Also, sometimes hip belt pockets will require two hands. For example, this one is really hard to zip. You can see here. So it requires two hands. That's not feasible on the trail. This one worked better. But I've had an Osprey pack that was a day pack, and I had to have two hands every time I went to open and close it, and that was a big pain in the butt. This one does not have a lot of pockets. It has the big mesh. It has the couple on the side here, but it doesn't really have a lot of zippered pockets. It doesn't really have any. It has one on the top lid. This one, for example, does have several, which is great for staying organized, but all of those pockets mean weight and bulk. This pack weighs twice as much as this one. You'll want to think about the top closure. So for example, this one is a roll top. You can see why it's called that, but it just closes like so. You'll put those together, roll them one way or the other. It doesn't really matter which. And you can either snap it like that, or on some styles, you'll snap it down. Versus one of these that has a drawstring. So this is the pouch right here, the main compartment, and then it just closes like so. And then you can open it like that. I find that it's a lot easier to cinch down a load with this one, but this one is kind of easier to expand the top. Not as much in this particular pack as it is in this one, because this one also has an adjustable top lid so that it can go higher over the top of it. And this one even has a strap to go over the drawstring pocket when you want to cinch it down. So there's this right here that goes right over it. Cinch it down if you have a small load, like so. Or if you have the whole thing open and you have it very full, it's kind of a nice way to keep it locked down a little bit more. So you can expand that. Put this over it. Put the top lid over, etc. Access points. So pretty much every pack you're going to be able to access it from the very top. However, some different packs have additional access points. This one, for example, has a sleeping bag compartment in the bottom, which means that there's a zipper here. And then on the inside, there is an optional little separator that separates that little pocket from the main compartment of the pack. The usefulness of this varies by the person. I have never found it useful, which is why mine is not connected right now. Until I had a quilt, this was never big enough to accommodate any sleeping bag I've ever had, even a down one. And I don't usually need to get my sleeping bag out first in the first place. Usually if I'm getting my sleeping bag out, I'm already at camp. I'm pulling everything else out anyway. Also, this one has access from the front. So you might have the top of it cinched down and not necessarily want to open up the whole top of it, but you can store something that can be accessed by this front zipper here. And this is the main compartment here. However, again, the usefulness of this varies. If you use a pack liner and most of your gear is on the inside of that, then having that front access doesn't offer you a whole lot unless you store something on the outside of it. And most likely what you're going to be trying to access is something like your jacket. So usually, unless it's your rain jacket, you know, your puffy or whatever is going to be on the inside of that lining, in that liner to keep it dry in case you fall into water or it starts raining. So this can actually unzip all the way down here. But you can see that this isn't super useful, and I wouldn't want to open this up from this side because especially if you're using a compactor bag or something like that, you're going to wind it up and twist it and then put this on top of it to keep it closed. One other issue with that is that what if you have a hard time closing it back up, especially if you're trying to put something in that way? It doesn't work very well that way. This zipper is also very heavy and bulky, so that adds additional weight when you're already trying to not add additional weight usually. That said, I have used that zipper. It has been handy for me. Circling back to frames, these are all internal frame packs. There are framed packs and there are frameless packs. I have never carried a load except on a day pack that was light enough for a frameless pack. So I do not own a frameless backpacking pack. I also do not own a hybrid pack, which is basically a pack that has a removable internal frame that can be used as a sit pad or otherwise. If you're carrying 20 pounds or less on your back with your food and water and everything else, go for it with a frameless pack. Definitely not my area of expertise, and more power to you. I think it's awesome if you can do that. However, my pack is usually closer to 35 pounds, and I have been able to easily carry that in both of these packs. Working on getting it into this one, my next trip. That will be my challenge. Usually a beginner not going to go with a frameless pack. It's not a good idea. You'll usually want something with a frame. And there are internal frame packs, which, as I said, these are all internal frame packs. Or there are external frame packs, which is like the unsung hero of backpacking. You can carry a much heavier load comfortably, and you can strap a lot of things on the outside of those, whereas with these, strapping a lot on the outside will throw off the balance of your load. An internal frame pack is really designed for everything to go inside, whereas with an external frame pack, you might have your tent, your sleeping bag, all of those bigger, bulkier items on the outside, and then they're strapped to the actual frame. A frameless or hybrid pack, you may, again, have a sit pad that's used as the frame, or you can use a closed cell foam pad to provide some structure. They may or may not have a hip belt, which is this belt right here, since they're carrying such a light load. Fit is an incredibly important part of buying a pack, and some packs are going to be more adjustable than others. So for example, this one, of course, all of the straps themselves are adjustable, and that is going to be the case on every pack, no matter what pack you're looking at. However, something like this, you can actually swap out the waist belt and the shoulder straps, which I have done in order to find the right fit. This one also allows for the shoulder straps to be adjusted to different heights so that it can be the right fit for any given person. This pack has something that's similar to something that you see a lot on kids' packs, which is actually where the whole shoulder harness system velcros up and down. So you may be able to see that this says extra small right here, which is what I wear. I have it on the smallest setting, but I can undo it here. Oop. There's a lot of Velcro to really keep it in place. And you can see that I can raise it up right here. I can take it out entirely. But you can actually fold it. Ooh. See, I'm still learning. You can actually fold this down to make it even smaller, but you can make it pretty tall here with the Velcro and wear it like so. Or I'm going to try folding this down and see how it goes. You can fold this back. I wondered how you were going to get it smaller. I already had it going smaller than we just showed, but now I want to try it out with it really tiny. So I measure pretty small. We'll be playing with that later. You also want to make sure that it's centered. You can see that it's not centered here. Well, we will see how this does with the shoulder straps here. Because that does not look like it's going to be wide enough. Anyway, this is a common feature on kids' packs. For example, my son's pack, which I did not grab today, he has worn it since he was 6 and he's about to be 15. He just finally got a new pack and his is adjustable again. Hopefully he can use that pack until he can go buy his own one day. Different packs will also have different styles of ventilation and support on the back. So even with the best of designs, you're still going to get sweaty, but these can reduce the chafing. They can reduce some of that irritation that can happen from that sweat in your pack. And kind of having that trampoline system that keeps it away from your back helps keep the actual pack itself off of you. Some packs like this one will have what are called daisy chains, and these are loops that go down the front, usually on both sides, to provide extra places to lash things. In addition to daisy chains, there will often be additional gear loops and different cinch points. So, for example, this one has a little side strap here that can kind of cinch down your load. This one will have that too, but it's actually a buckle on here, which is really nice. I like that better than the way that this one is. But this has some extra random little places to secure things too. You'll want to think about the padding that's on the hip belt. Especially if you're carrying a heavier load, you're going to want a pretty good amount of padding. And especially if you don't have a lot of padding of your own, you're probably going to want more padding as well. Ultimately, the weight of your pack, about 80% of it should be on your hips. So how much padding you're going to need is just going to depend on the person and the load. A similar thing can be said for how much padding is on your straps. You know, about 20% of your weight should be on your straps here. And it's just going to depend on the person and the load. If your collarbones stick out, you may want more padding, or you may even apply extra padding. Another thing to think about is the material. You're going to want something that is durable and able to stand up to the rigors of backpacking. So you're going to be setting down and picking up your pack a lot. If you're going to be off trail, you're definitely going to be going up against brush and tree trunks and other things that can potentially rip open your pack. So like this mesh, you can see that it's kind of worn out right here, which is why on the new one, it's a different material. But even if you're on, you know, the Pacific Crest Trail or other really well-maintained trails, there are always blowdowns. You're in nature. Things that you're having to crawl over or under and potentially rubbing against your pack. Some of these packs will include rain covers. These two both do. This one has a top lid that is waterproof, but that does not necessarily cover the whole pack. I do have a rain cover that I bought separately for this, but these ones actually have one that's included that comes inside the top lid here and is designed specifically to go on this pack. Now, pro tip, don't rely exclusively on this. This is not 100%. It is, it will keep the big stuff off, which is nice because then it's like you're not getting the water absorbing into the material of this, and anything that's on the outside of it isn't getting wet. But you also want to put a liner. If you think that there's any chance that you're going to be experiencing rain, you're going to want a pack liner to keep the important stuff inside dry. I wouldn't put your cook pot in there, but you're definitely going to want your sleeping bag or your quilt in there. And probably your puffy or a fleece or whatever kind of like insulation that you're going to have with you. Some packs are made of waterproof materials. Usually this will be Dyneema, which is insanely expensive. I obviously do not own a Dyneema pack. But one thing to consider is that the seams are not necessarily going to be waterproof like the material is. So again, I would not rely exclusively on this. It might be a nice thing that you don't have to carry a rain cover, but I would still use a liner on the inside. And everything has a fail point, just like a rain jacket does. And if you're going over and under trees and other things that are abrasive, it can easily get snagged and rip, and then you have a fail point. Some packs have shoulder straps or waist belts that you can swap out. I know I already talked a little bit about that on this. So for example, the pack itself is an extra small, the shoulder straps are a small, and the waist belt is a medium, because I needed a little bit more heft in that area, but it's nice to have that customizable ability. Of course, it does add extra weight and bulk. You can also get extra little pockets and things like that. Like this one actually has things that you can remove. These hip belt pockets can be removed to save some weight. I added this little pocket on the front here for carrying a water bottle. Sometimes I have my selfie stick or my cell phone in there or whatever. There are women's specific designs, and these tend to be shorter and narrower than men's. And the shoulder straps will often be shaped differently to accommodate breasts and things like that. But, you know, going with whatever works for your body is really what's going to be best. You know, these aren't like bright pink, rainbow brighty kind of packs, but these are both women specific packs. No one's going to know if you're a guy and you're using a women specific pack because that's what fit you best. Plus, there are plenty of bodies that don't necessarily align with one or the other, or even the standard, you know, even if you identify as a woman, fitting into a women's specific pack doesn't necessarily work best for you. Go with whatever pack fits you best. Again, there are also kid-specific packs. They're probably going to have a smaller capacity, kind of similar to this, and be more adjustable in the back like this one is. I also like to carry a waist pack, and that way I have a place for snacks, for my phone, for my chapstick, for my pocket knife, etc. And when I'm walking around camp, I have my Garmin InReach on there as well. I have also attached it around the shoulder straps on my chest so that it's accessible there. I have other gear buying guides in this playlist here. Be sure to like and subscribe to help others to be able to see this and so that you don't miss anything. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.